Hey everybody, how's it going? I am Chris Flowers. I'm the executive producer of the Biz Coach Show, and I am here with the man, the myth, the legend, the CEO, the founder of My Biz Coaches and the Biz Coach Show, Eric T. Whitmore. How you doing, boss?
I am doing well, Chris. Thank you for helping us out today. I'm excited to do this show with Craig.
Yeah, it's going to be great. You got Craig Darling here for Darling Local Inc. Welcome to the show. How you doing, sir? You are on mute. Well, I don't know why you're on mute, but you can't
My
unmute
mic's
again.
muted. Thank you for inviting me.
There you go. All right, now we're cooking. Hey, this is what happens when you go live, man. Things happen. So I'm just gonna read you in here real quick. Craig Darling is a seasoned entrepreneur and marketing innovator with over 40 years of experience helping businesses thrive. As the founder of Darling Local, Tourist Link Technologies, and Review Engine Plus, Craig specialized in generating relevance and visibility for local businesses worldwide. A five-time best-selling author and inductee to the Chevrolet Hall of Fame, he combines his passion for growth, storytelling, and empowering small business owners to succeed in today's competitive landscape. I got to up my bio because mine's not looking like that. So I got to start doing some stuff here, man.
I actually hired a bio coach to write that. I mean, I still can't believe that was 10 grand.
Yeah, for 10 grand, what's that? Like $100 a word or something like that at that rate.
Well, it was considerably longer than that. It took over 6 months, and
Did it
that's
really?
the short bio she wrote. But whatever.
Wow.
Good deal. Well, glad to have you on the show, Craig. I know it's been a long time coming, so excited to kind of break in a little bit, talk a little bit about what Darling Local does. And as you know, at My Biz Coaches, you and I do a lot of the same things. We just do it in different ways, right? We help our clients to grow and scale their business. One of the things that I do want to take the opportunity to do is I know that you have a pretty unique, I'll call it rags to riches story. I obviously know it. I've heard it a few times in our conversations, but love for you to share that with our listeners a little bit about, kind of where you were, the turnaround, and what you've been able to do with Darling over the last, was it 10, 12 years, something like that?
Yeah, it'll be 10 years, February 28th.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Right? I know a lot of businesses don't last that long.
That's right.
That's right.
Mine got there through tenacity, I'm supposing. I mean, I don't know how many of your listeners out there, had to close a deal to pay the electric bill, or the rent was due and they had to make that deal happen. So yeah, that definitely rags. I don't know if that's rags. I wasn't homeless yet, but we came within hours a few times. I promise. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
there are listeners out there. Yep.
Right. So that's really how it started. So I'm going to go back a little bit further. Before I did all this, I was actually in the automobile industry, and in 2008, I was running 9 dealerships, had 700 people work for me, and the economy collapsed, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
and the CFO of the corporation brought me a little box, and
Wow.
that box held my personal belongings. I went out the door. So basically, I had made a lot of mistakes in my life, and one of them was thinking that I was rich because I made a lot of money, and investing and doing things that I really had no business doing. Right. So when the economy collapsed, I ran out of money in about 18 months because it's hard to find a job that pays you what that one was paying, right?
Right, exactly.
And then because I thought I thought, okay, well, I could hang on, and it took me about another 8 months to run out of my credit lines, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know what happens then, right?
Yeah.
The cars went bye-bye, the house went bye-bye. Hardest discussion I ever had in my life was telling my wife we had to move, right? So
Wow.
fast forward, my financial advisor, who's no longer my financial advisor because he let me get into this mess, right? The last advice he gave me was don't cash in your 401k. But when you're talking to people that won't rent you a house because you're in foreclosure, when you're talking to car dealers that won't lend you a car because you just had one repossessed, right?
Right.
You know, and I got an income, but it wasn't enough to sustain everything, right? So I cashed in my 401k and I paid cash for my house. I paid cash for a car. I paid the taxes and the penalties. Yes, I did. Okay, but I started my company,
Mm.
and we went in fits and starts. And finally, I gave up and I went back to work, and I didn't make shit. Excuse my language on here, too, right?
No, you're
I
fine.
mean, it was just like my heart wasn't in it anymore.
Right.
Right. And when your heart's not in it, you're not going to prosper. You're not going to produce. So one day, I remember exactly. It was the 28th day of February, 2015, and I just said, you know what? Enough. I'm tired of other people controlling my life. I'm tired of other people controlling my calendar. I am going to do this, and I am going to make it a success. Okay? And what my next goal was, I know this sounds crazy, but I set a goal out. Okay, I'm not going to stop until I made $86,000 a month in recurring revenue. Okay, we eclipsed that. So
Nice.
That's my story.
I thought that bio was good, man. Geez.
Well, I wasn't a gunny. I don't know, Chris. What was your rank when you left the Air Force?
Oh, when I left the Air Force or when I left the Army? Because I was in both. I was a corporal when I left the Army. That was my last.
Oh,
service.
okay. All right.
Yep.
All right. So I got a really good buddy that wears that exact same hat you got. He was a gunnery sergeant.
Gunnery sergeant, Marine Corps.
Is that what it is? Marine Corps?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I wonder why he wears the Air Force hat.
Well, because he might have been dual service too. Because like I said, I was in both. I was in the Air Force and the Army. I did both, so it might have been the same.
Oh, got it. Well, I had family in the military, but I never served. But here's what I can tell you: since 1776, a member of my family has always, in every generation, has served the United States Armed Services.
Wow, that's amazing.
Awesome.
That's a lot of lineage right there.
Right.
It is.
Seriously.
Yeah, we got here in 1620 on the Mayflower.
Wow. Yeah, we tracked our lineage, and I was a German prince was where our original names originated from in the 1720s or something like that.
Yeah, but you and I both like bourbon, so I'm pretty sure our families' paths crossed in Kentucky.
Well, anybody that was European has got some crossover there.
I like bourbon. I'm Italian. Does that matter?
Well, that's I appreciate you sharing the story, Craig, because it's really amazing. We often, when we have people on the call, we're talking about what you do for clients, and sometimes there's a missed opportunity to really kind of share that. I knew that was a unique story for you, and I know that even for myself, when we sold the last wireless dealer in 2017, and I walked away from that, and I really didn't have a choice. I was kind of blocked because of the transaction. I couldn't go back into the wireless industry, at least for a year. And during that time, it was like, sit on the sidelines, collect the money that they were required to pay me out for that period of time, which is fine. But I'm not one to sit on my hands. And I knew, to your point earlier, you don't go out and create a multi-$100,000 income out of nothing. I mean, it takes some serious work, right? And what I first did was a trucking business, and I had the fastest growing independently owned trucking business in the entire Southwest. I went from 0 to 26 trucks and 72 trailers, and we were doing about $550,000 a month.
Wow!
In 11 months. The downside to that is it fell apart just as fast as I grew it, because I did not realize how capital intensive the industry was. I knew it was capital intensive. I did not realize how capital intensive it would be. And when I couldn't get access to capital to continue the expansion, it fell apart because I used a lot of bad debt to be able to do it. And
right.
because nobody would loan us at a reasonable rate. So I had to go get money at a more expensive rate. And as long as I could outpace it, I was fine. All it took was a slowdown in the industry for a few months, and boom, just like that, I ended up shutting the whole thing down. So, but when your back's up against the wall, your character's revealed. It's something I really believe in, and unfortunately for me, my character's been revealed more than enough times that I'd like care to remember.
Same.
Yeah, but the reality is, Eric, is we've all had our character revealed in that fashion,
Right.
right? It doesn't. If everything was easy,
Nope, that's the story.
everybody'd be doing it,
That's
right?
right.
So I had a guy, a teacher, my music teacher in high school. He was disciplining me one time for something. I think I snuck a bottle of gin into Disneyland, right? But
I would never have done that.
but I remember him telling me, and I didn't dig it until like years later. He said, little feller, the easiest path isn't the way you get there.
Wow.
And it never made any sense to me until one day I go, bing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So anyway.
Yeah, no, like I said, I super appreciate it because I think that there's so much to be said about that. And one of the things over the years, I realized that nothing that I ever wanted that was worth anything would happen without some significant contribution on my part and probably some sacrifice. And I was okay with that. But what was interesting is I got into the business coaching space a little over 5 years ago. I realized how many people got into business that didn't know that going into business, and they're learning the hard way. And I'm sure you've seen it just like I have, the different jokes about what the path of an entrepreneur, what everybody thinks it looks like, it's down and to the left and straight up to the right, to the right corner.
Right.
And the reality is it's some squiggly line that work like this, and they can't be more true. And really sometimes our path is how we get to where we are is so valuable, because the lessons that you learn along the way and the things that really kind of help challenge you, push you, and like you said, you were like, I am not going to do this, I'm not going to give up, I'm not going to quit. And that is a big piece that I think that too many people get into business and maybe at least they haven't tested that in themselves yet.
This crazy. So, there was some time between when we lost everything and when we started gaining, right? And I'll never forget, after I told you that I walked out of the job, I said, no more, I'm going to do it myself, right? So I walked into one prospect who I actually knew the general manager, and I'm pitching my services. And he goes, dude, I'll give you 15 grand a month to come work for me.
Yeah. How hard?
Right?
How hard?
And it was like, it's like, I can't tell my wife that because I'm going to tell him no.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I as soon as you said it, I'm like, yeah, I know where this is going. I 2-3 years into it, I was just like, oh man, I don't know. I'm sure somebody would pay me $200,000-$300,000 a year to come back and do what I was doing. And I probably have the right connections. I could pull it off, but I'm like, I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back doing that again. Right. Not that it was bad, just that I've seen, plus I've seen the industry change, and it's not what I remember either, which is a whole nother component of that.
Well, I mean, then there's the other side is, if I wasn't on this call right now, I could just, I'm going to go sit by the pool and have an iced tea.
Right. There's something to be said for that as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, I got a couple of things I want to make sure we touch on, because I know there's some really unique stuff that you do at Darling Local. So let's jump into a few of these things. The first one is, we talked a little bit about your story and how you got there, but tell us a little bit about specifically what you do at Darling Local, and what you do for that small business owner to really kind of help them build their reputation, get the exposure that they need, and help them scale their business.
Okay, well, it comes with another story, just so you know.
There you go.
Other way.
Part of the thing that we were doing when we first started the company is we were managing social media for quite a number of clients. And I don't know if you remember, I think something called Google Plus.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So anyway, one day I was working on my social media posts, and one of my clients, who's still a client today, by the way, had me make a post on his Google Plus page. So I copied and pasted, right? That's important to remember. A few minutes later, I pasted that exact quote into the search bar. I wasn't trying to search for what I was looking for. It was just purely an accident. Right? I hit enter, and my Google Plus post was the very first search result in 3 minutes. So it's not a secret that you can Google exactly what you posted,
right?
But and get it to be the search result. The trick is that how did it index so quickly? Usually it takes 4 hours to 4 months for content to index, but this was indexed literally instantly. So we started playing, and we discovered that we could get our content to index anytime we want if we use a Google platform.
Oh, interesting.
So as soon as I realized that, I said, the heck with Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all that. It's all about Google business profiles, because what I hadn't realized is that a Google business profile in the pigeon algorithm update that Google launched about 8 years ago, whatever, I don't remember. But that update turned Google into a giant social media platform. And most people don't realize that. So the way you communicate on that is, of course, reviews, right? And sharing products and stuff like that. But it's still a social media platform. So we figured out that what we could do is we could harness that, get content to index instantly by using the various Google platforms. So we developed, we turned into a visibility agency. We're not a marketing agency. We generate visibility by managing Google business profiles. It's simple. It takes the message or the brand or the voice of the brand, if you will. We don't have to create it. It's your voice is broadcast through your Google business profile, and the active Google business profiles, they get called up more often than the inactive ones, right? And a Google business profile, the only place it ever appears is the first search result. That's the only place it ever appears. It's never second. It's never on the second page. Now, you have a difference in Google Maps, which we also optimize for. So Google Maps, you can be in the 3-pack. That's one of the first 3. Or you can be in the 10-pack. So we found that our strategies keep our clients in the 3-pack, which is where you want to be, because people can click on it. Additionally to that, what we found even more helpful was simply training small businesses that couldn't afford to hire me, training them to do this, right? And we've trained thousands of small business owners how to manage their Google profile for no fee.
Right. Yeah. No, I remember you passing out your link for that. Right. Here's the training program, and you had a price point of like, I want to say it was like $300 or something like that, and you were
it was $399, and I sold 3,000 copies at $399. Okay. And then I said, you know what? It's a better lead magnet than anything else. So we started giving it away for free. And I think before we shut it down just about 3 months ago. Why did we shut it down? Because it's no longer relevant. The Google and everybody in AI has changed everything. So we've had to change our formula, change our focus. We're coming out with the new one, but like everything else, you got to wait until after Christmas.
Right.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that's really insightful. I know, obviously, you and I being in the same networking group together, that mastermind group that we're in, one of the really powerful things that I've always appreciated about it is what you bring to the table when you do your give and ask in the networking group. And those gives, I'm jotting down notes, and it was things like, to your point, indexing the pictures on my Google profile, right? Or indexing the products. Like, even you were telling me put your products out there, and then when I went ahead and retained you and brought you in, and then it was posting the blog posts on my Google profile, none of which I would have ever considered doing, just because most people, to your point, don't understand the value of Google, how to really leverage it.
Right. I mean, it's a free service, so you must not have any value to it.
Right.
All right. but here's the deal: 92% of us use Google.
Yep.
Okay. And here's an astonishing number. Okay. 70% of the American adults have used a Google profile to make a buying decision in the last 7 days.
Really?
Yeah.
Right?
Doesn't
I mean,
surprise
that's
me.
and
Yep.
tell me you didn't when you
Yep.
said Taco Bell near me.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Tell me you didn't when you go Chase ATM near me.
Yep.
Right? Those are Google business profiles. And now we have a way. We don't want. Not everybody's going to search for My Biz Coach near me. I get that. Okay.
Right.
So we have to generate visibility or relevance, we call it, for your profile. And how do we do that? We do that by utilizing images that have metadata embedded into them. We use that by having calls to action that are distributed around the various platforms. We also do that by utilizing the highest authority backlink there is. And what would that be? Those are backlinks on Google properties, right? So the crazy thing is that your competitors will never see the number of backlinks that you have because Google doesn't share that information.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
So you put it on Bing, you put it on Apple, you put it on GoDaddy website, you get it on a Wix website, whatever. Those backlinks, yeah, everybody keeps track of those.
Mm-hmm.
The backlinks that are on Google, nobody can keep track of. So we generate these backlinks. So we generate, most of our clients, we generate at least 3 a week. That's more than some big companies have in their life.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Yeah. So I was just gonna add to that. There's 2 things I wanted to cover. One was we at My Biz Coaches, one of the things we constantly encourage, particularly as it relates to our service-based businesses, and I'm specifically referring to the blue-collar services, the HVAC, the landscapers, that category of business. Those particular business owners really can thrive in the Google profile platform. But one of the things they run into is the challenge of the they may not have a physical location. And I know a lot of times, and I know you've coached others. I've heard you coach others with this. But just as a quick tip for some people, one of the biggest challenges they run into is they can't get their Google profile established, and a lot of them run into the brick wall there with that. What's one of the ways that they could possibly resolve that?
So I had this deal come up this morning. I mean, this is a fresh deal. So Glenn Clark, who owns I can't remember, it's a mortgage company in Gilbert. He runs it out of his house, right? Yep. And he's like, I can't get it verified. I go, yeah, you can. You don't need to have an address, a public address. You do need to have a physical address. Okay. So if you're the service guy, you're the plumber, you're the HVAC that's working out of your house, don't worry about it. When you make your Google profile, click "Do not want my address published." Okay. And when you do the verification video, it's really, really simple. You set your office up, your home office. You put your computer on your website, leave it there. You take your certification, your plumber's license or whatever it is that you have, right? You put that on the table. Next to it, you put your tax ID form on the table, right? You go out to the street corner by your house, the closest street corner. You start that video, okay? Then you point the camera at the ground while you go to your house, and then you focus on the address on your house. Then you put your camera down and you go into your home office, 10 seconds on the website, 10 seconds on your certification, 10 seconds on your tax ID form. You submit the video. You're going to be approved every time if you do that.
Nice. Okay? Appreciate that. Because I know for a fact a lot of people, yeah.
That's huge. Now, a plumber or a electrician would have to add, if their car's got a wrap on it or they got signage on it, okay, they need to have the keys in the car. When they go from the street sign, go to the car, open the car door, start the car, shut the car off, close the door, and then go in and finish it up. So if you're a service business like that, you need to prove that you've got a vehicle to do it, right?
Interesting. Okay.
But that is a big deal. Not having your Google profile And a plumber or an electrician or any service industry, if they have a Google business profile that's properly optimized, they don't need any other marketing.
I was going to say they should be getting a bunch of calls on a regular basis.
Yeah. So I've got a roofing company that's been our client for 3 months. I happen to be looking at their data right now. Okay. He got 74 phone calls last month.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're a roofer and your average job is $25,000,
I was going to say
you get to say no as much as you want.
right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's powerful. I appreciate you sharing that. I know that's those types of insights, and again, because we're in that same group together, I know I've heard you have those conversations with people, and how challenging it can be. And there's an that's one of those examples we talk about, the roundabout path to success, right? Sometimes it's not as straightforward. I literally was just doing a promotion, and the company I was working through, they're like, we need to verify your EIN. And that matches with your company. Well, I operate a DBA underneath my corporate name, right? And they're like, they don't match. I'm like, well, yeah, they don't match. There's thousands of other companies that their EIN and the company that the EIN's tied to, you have a DBA that you're operating under is a different brand, right? And I couldn't get the person on the other line to understand what I was talking about. I was so frustrated. But
you didn't send him a copy of your DBA?
No, that's what I had to do, along with the corporation, the letter from with the EIN and all that kind of stuff. But it's those things. It's like all these hoops you sometimes have to jump through, and most people will stop.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
they will. It's overwhelming,
And then they're frustrated when they can't build the business the way they want to. It's because if to your point earlier, if it was easy, everybody be doing it. Right? Yeah. I appreciate sharing it because, like I said, I think there's a lot that goes into that. And sometimes you and I take things like this for granted. I know that there's things that you take for granted that I'm like, oh, that's a golden nugget, right? And consequently, the same with me with some of my clients, right? So it's really important to, when we share this information, there's lots of times people are just like, oh, but that's so hard. I'm like, yeah, there's a reason it's hard because it's probably really worth it. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Let's look at the. Let's take another one here. Oh, so you'd mentioned, and correct me, I'm going to say it wrong probably, but you said you're was relevance was the word you used, a relevance company, not a marketing company.
Relevance agency.
Yeah, relevance agency. So, give us, in your perspective, what differentiates you from your typical marketing agency beyond that? I mean, give us some.
So the relevance agency is a recently acquired definition.
Okay? Yep.
So I don't know if you know who Ken Moskowitz is, but Ken Moskowitz is a one of the leading copywriters in the world.
Okay.
And happens to be a friend of mine. Let me tell you how good he is. He only takes on 2 or 3 clients a year.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
So anyway, we're having lunch downtown Chandler at the Thai restaurant there. Great food, by the way. Anyway, so he says, so what's going on? I go, I'm kind of upset. He goes, why? What are you upset about? I go, well, everybody asks me what I do, and I tell them I have a marketing agency, but I'm really not a marketing guy. Mm-hmm. He says, what do you do? I go, well, we generate relevance for people. He goes, well, tell them you're a relevance agency. And I go, what's that? And he goes, exactly. That starts the conversation every time.
Nice.
So now I say, I'm a relevance agency. They go, what's that? And I go, I manage your Google business profile. So I don't really know what a relevance agency is, but they got the question going, and we're having that conversation now. So it must be pretty profound.
There you go.
It's a Craig Darling thing you wouldn't understand, man.
Yeah, right.
So you pay me the retainer, I'll help you figure it out.
Seriously, when we work on a Google profile, the whole point of us doing it is so that when somebody searches for your product or your service, okay, that your Google profile is the response.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? When a Google profile is fully optimized, it runs from the header to the footer on the first page of search. That's a lot of real estate.
Yeah.
And in between the header and the footer, there are at least 12 places of engagement. Call now, visit our website, book an appointment, whatever it is, right? And on a cell phone, it's 3 swipes of the thumb to get from the top to the bottom. And if you have engaging content between the first swipe and the third swipe, they're going to stop and engage. So we generate relevance for Google profiles, and Google takes care of the rest, because here's the cool thing. The conversion rate on a Google profile is better than 10% for engagement.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay? It is. And I mean, and I can show you some, literally some, where the conversion rate is better than 40%. Right? So just as an example, we have a car dealership in Littleton, Colorado. Okay. Last year they were the number one search result 3,500,000 times. Okay. Excuse me. They were the number one search result 1,300,000 times. They got 3,500,000 clicks. Okay. So there's impressions to clicks.
Right.
What did I just tell you? I told you that they got 300% engagement.
Right.
Okay. So how do you do that? Well, they looked at their products and then they clicked the call. They looked at their products and then they uploaded a map and drove there. I don't know. That's the way that it works, right?
Right.
And the really cool thing is that everything on a Google Business Profile is trackable. I can tell you how many phone calls you got. I can tell you how long you were on the phone. I can tell you how many people uploaded maps to their cell phones. Right? I can tell you whether or not you made any responses to your reviews. I can tell you whether not responding to your reviews raised or lowered your Google profile presence. Right?
Interesting.
I mean, it's the shit I know is crazy. Right?
Right.
And I can look at your store. If you tell me you're really busy right now, and I'm looking at your Google profile in the back end, and I see there's only 3 cell phones walking around your store, guess what? You're lying to me.
You know,
okay? I mean, Big Brother is there. You just got to know where to look for it.
I was just gonna say, what's interesting about that, and this is where I kind of geek out a little bit. But when I was in the wireless industry in the early days, like I'm talking like when it was still pagers, if you had a slow day, you didn't sell anything, you'd say, oh yeah, it was really slow. Well, there was no way to corroborate that, and there was no way to reference data. There was really nothing to look at. And then fast forward a handful of years, they switched to a new company. Well, ironically, that company went bankrupt. So go figure, right? But the next company I'm working for, it was actually a Singular Dealer. We were a Singular Dealer, if you remember that brand. But during that time, that was right in the heyday of cell phones. Digital had just come out. They were growing everywhere. Companies were expanding extensively. There wasn't really a challenge. It was when we were doing 5 free phones in every mall. You'd walk around and people are chasing you down the hall. The industry continued to evolve. And the last company I was with, we got really technical. And this is where I learned a lot. I knew a lot about wireless and about sales, and I knew everything about it I needed to know about that. But the last company I was with, we had three owners. There was the CEO, the CFO, and the COO. And the and each of them knew their space, right? They stayed in their lane. They corroborated on decision making and stuff like that. And ironically, I was one of the key executives that was brought in on these decision making processes because we managed large groups of people, hundreds of employees. And when we introduced the idea of traffic counting, it was a pretty basic technology, a beam technology. It was installed in the doors. And we got it from one of the carriers that we were supporting at that time, which was Alltel. And what was unique about it is all of a sudden, I knew how many people were in your store today. And so, Craig, I call you up and say, hey, what's going on? How are we doing today? And you're like, I don't know, it's really slow. And I'm like, Craig, you had 112 people in your store today. That's not slow in my eyes. What's going on, right? What's the missed opportunity?
I liked Alltel. What happened to them?
They got acquired by Verizon.
Yeah.
Well, but so the irony of that whole scenario was we took that, we converted, and then we went over to T-Mobile. When, as a matter of fact, as you asked that, Verizon acquired Alltel, required Verizon to unload some certain markets, and so we picked up And we had, because that broker our agreement, allowed us to look at other options. And at that point, we switched to T-Mobile, which at that point, T-Mobile was not much of a player in the market. But what evolved from that was pretty amazing, because we took what we learned about traffic data technology and incorporated it into our sales tracking. And all of a sudden, we had metrics for metrics for metrics. And so when I got into business coaching and really dug into digital marketing, I was really, I'm like, this is, there's no question. Because I remember the early days, we would run print ads, we do radio ads, and we do local cable. You could never track whether or not you got any results from any of that crap, right? I mean, it was never, people would come by and like, oh, you're going to re-sign up for that next 6-month agreement. I'm like, dude, I have zero impact in my store. I can't tell whether or not it's made any difference. And even then, when we first had traffic technology, all it meant is my door swings went up. It didn't necessarily mean that I increased sales. But then when I could see that the traffic was up and I can check the boxes against the number of door swings, now all of a sudden I got a conversion ratio that I can leverage and have a real meaningful conversation with my sales organization. And so that was a game changer. And when we got into, when I first started understanding the digital marketing space, that was really compelling, because I'm like, okay, now I have real information and real data that I can have a conversation with a client on. And now we can talk about where they're struggling and why they're not getting the results they're hoping for in their business. Right. And I think that's a piece that I really respect about your data. Like each week or each month when you send me the report, I see how much my Google profile traffic has increased, how many more phone calls I got, how many more, not site hits, map hits. I still get map hits for that. I'm gonna eventually just start having people meet me at my office here at the house.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, I was in those days where you spent $30,000 every week on the spread for Saturday and Sunday's paper,
Yep.
Et cetera, et cetera. So I want to go back to that client I was telling you about in Littleton, Colorado, and the sister store, by the way, in Cheyenne, Wyoming. All right. I think Cheyenne, Wyoming, they get more clicks every week than there are people in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Wow.
Okay? I mean, that's amazing. But anyway, both those dealerships were spending in excess of $50,000 a month on digital marketing. Now the only thing they do, their digital marketing, is their Google business profile. Yes, of course, they have a nice website. Yes, the website's optimized, not taking any of that away. But what they are doing is they're taking the money they were spending on ads and paying their people to go out and network.
Nice.
Right? So you and I are in network groups. How many car people have you and I seen in the networking groups?
Never.
Right?
Yep.
Right? And so they're doing this. And why are they the number one dealerships in their zone? And they both of them, by the way, are. And they're never going to leave me as long as I keep doing good work. Right?
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I think it's super powerful. And because I don't know if I've actually shared this with you before, but I'm sure you've heard it. The number one reason that most people seek me out as a coach, as a business coach, I need more leads. And then being a salesperson, and I know you can appreciate this, the first thing I typically say to them, and I can appreciate you probably, you believe you need more leads. Before we go chase that path, let's make sure that we fix any conversion problem that might exist, right? And let's make sure that you're converting at a rate and that you should be. You have the right sales process and you're talking to the right quality people. Then we can amp up the marketing efforts and really kind of drive home and get some real results. Yeah. But the vast majority of the people that come to us because they have a lead generation problem.
I'm going to send you a customer because you just reminded me of somebody that needs you. Okay. So I had a client not too long ago, and I called him up and I said, "Hey, you ready to renew?" He goes, "Dude, I didn't sell anything." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Your service doesn't work." And I go, "What are you talking about? It works great. I sent 59,000 people to your website that were there for more than 2 minutes." He goes, "Well, I didn't close any of them." Okay, so that goes to the process you're talking about.
Yep.
What is your conversion rate?
Right.
And 0% isn't real good.
We don't stay in business too long with 0% conversion.
No, it's crazy. But there are people like that, and I can't make sales for them.
Right. Yeah, you can drive people to the door. Right. You can drive people to the door, but you can't make them convert for them. Yep.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And a Google Business Profile does that. It makes the phone ring and the front door swing.
Yep.
And by the way, I was shameless plug here. So I've told you about my review engine cards.
Yep.
Okay. So they used to take 24 hours to program if it was an address-only business, like we were talking about earlier, the plumber that doesn't want his address published.
Right.
We just won approval from Google to utilize their API. So now I can instantly program any card for any business anywhere in the world.
Interesting.
Wow. This happened in the last 25 minutes. All right. Wait a minute. We've been on the call for 41 minutes. Okay. It happened in the last hour.
Okay.
I got the notification right before you sent me a text.
Well, that's amazing news since we're partnered up with you on that program.
That is correct. Well, Lloyd, if Lloyd comes to the meeting 2 weeks from yesterday, he'll get the details on it.
Good deal. I'll make sure he's there.
Don't hold your breath on it.
He'll get the video either way.
Yeah. So I did have a couple other questions I want to make sure we hit on in regard to so okay, now there's been some talk. I got to bring it up. I know how heavy you are with Google, but no, before I go there, one of the questions I want to ask you, Chris, he's my executive producer. He took over for David about a month or two ago, and we're trying to push really hard on the Biz Coach show, which is a YouTube channel. Obviously, there's a Google tie there to YouTube, right? He also has his own show, which is called Here's the Deal. So when I started 2 years ago, literally 2 years ago, with the Biz Coach show, we're at, what would you tell me? I'm 113 subscribers or something like that, some minuscule number. Chris started in May, and he's already exceeded my subscriber base. Now, we'll talk about that later at another time. But, more importantly, he's having some nice success, and I'm curious, is there a tip for us on how we can leverage on our YouTube channel the Google profile and help drive more traffic to the channel?
2 ways you can do it.
All right.
How about that?
All right.
Number one, is your Google profile attached to your Google business, to your YouTube page?
It is probably not.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
It takes 30 seconds. Do it.
Okay.
Secondly, where you have your products, Google will let you put in your blog posts. Your podcast. Okay. Nice. So all you have to do, create a cover sheet that's let's see, it's 1200 by 900 pixels. Create a cover sheet, put your logo in the corner, okay, and then write the title of the blog post on it, the podcast.
Yep.
Right, and then episode 8, whatever you want to do. And then publish that as your product. And then you get 1,000 characters to define the podcast for search.
Nice.
Right? So utilize those characters to define it because that's the SEO. Right? So now you've got your website with your blog attached to it. You've got your YouTube page, which is synced to your Google profile. And now you have your podcast is featured as a product listing. And here's where it gets crazy, okay? When they start searching for coaches, in your example, they're going to get served up with products. And if it's your product as a podcast, right?
Right.
They might hire me because they got yours. I don't know. I'm just saying. That's how it works.
I'll have to put your show up there as my product.
No, you put
it'll be on there by the end of the day.
So I don't know if you know Joe Beck. I'm pretty sure you guys know each other.
No,
but his sales, what is it called? The Sales Activist. He does that podcast. Every one he puts on Google as a product.
Oh,
There's
interesting.
no limit to the products you can have.
Oh, I did not realize that. Amazing. Right. Appreciate that. That's great insight. As a matter of fact, that actually is really valuable because that's one of the things we've been pushing really hard at My Biz Coaches is helping people understand the value of the video and how to leverage it more. And that's one of the things that Chris and I are working on with our podcast is helping expose more businesses to,
the other thing is to make sure that your YouTube page and your business channel and your Google profile are all named the same thing. That's really important.
Okay.
And the same with the citations that are generated, et cetera, et cetera. So, so the Biz Coach show, right? That's all well and good, okay? But it needs to be on Google. It needs to be My Biz Coach, or My Biz Coaches rather, right? You need to, all your optimization and your citations need to be My Biz Coaches.
Okay.
Right. Good Even though it's the Biz Coach show, that's great. But you're not optimizing the Biz Coach show.
Right.
You're optimizing My Biz Coaches. So just
makes sense.
Trying to help you out a little bit there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Okay, so now I got the bigger question. A lot of talk about Google having to offload the search engine. Probably doesn't have a direct impact in what your business is, but what kinds of things do you think that will do, good or bad, as it relates to people being able to leverage Google? I mean, you made a statistic earlier, 92%, and ironically, I watched another podcast. I don't know about that was last week. It was over Thanksgiving, and he said it was 91.89% or something ridiculous.
Okay,
like that.
Yeah, I rounded up, right?
Exactly.
It's the car salesman in me.
Right. But when he said that, I was just blown away because I mean, Bing and so all those other ones are fighting for the other.
So everybody, the popular vernacular, of course, is Google.
Right.
The name of the company is actually Alphabet.
Right.
Okay. So if they spin off Google Search, it'll still be Google.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point because that to your point, it won't change the branding or anything like that. Which
they're still going to do ads. They're still going to do. I mean, they could. I guess they could turn off their Google Business Profile Management. I guess, but guess what'll happen? People like me will just go over to Bing.
Yeah, that would be well. And then, so what's interesting? What would be who's number 2 then? If Google's number 1 by that much?
Safari, Apple.
Oh, really? I guess that makes sense. Yeah. But then you're fighting.
Bing is distant number 3, but they're climbing because of Google's bad press. But even so, like I said, when you go to your phone, whether it's an Apple phone or it's an Android, you always say Taco Bell near me or whatever it is you're looking for, right?
Right.
And that's how you're going to make your, well, not necessarily everybody, but that's how most people are making their immediate buying or navigational decisions.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it's you say that phrase, and I'm like, I probably do that a couple of times a week minimum, right?
Sure.
With different search that I'm looking for. Amazing. All right, so tell us this, Craig. What's something that you think is really important for people to know? I mean, you shared some great insights. What's something that's you're really passionate about as it relates to Darling Local and what you do for businesses? But what's maybe something we haven't touched on you think is really important you want to put out there?
So one of the really important things that everybody should know is that they don't need me to manage their Google profile. Okay. They need to get in there and do it. If they can't afford to hire me, great. Just get in there and start playing around with it. But I had a guy out in Apache Junction not too long ago, and he said, "Oh, I'm doing it myself." I go, "That's great, man. I'm really, really proud of you. You're doing a good job." By the way, he built my last 2 custom computers for me, so it's not like we don't have a relationship, right?
Right.
And so anyway, so he's talking about all he did. I go, "Really?" And I said, "So I'm curious. How much is your time worth an hour?" He goes, "Well, I'm worth $250 an hour." I go, "Okay. So how much time do you spend working on your Google profile every month?" He goes, "I don't know, 8-10 hours." I go, "I'm only $5.99 a month, baby. Come on."
Yeah.
By the way, he's a client now.
Nice.
So
what everybody could do is there's a couple things. Make sure that you open your Google profile up and you create any events. make sure you open up your Google profile and create calls to action. In other words, hey, my name's Eric Whitmore and I own My Biz Coaches. Free consultation, click here, whatever. Make updates, okay?
Yeah.
And then if you have people ask questions about your company, write down what those questions are, and then post a couple of those questions with answers every week on your Google business profile. It does a couple of things. Number one, it tells Google that you're active on your profile. But number two, it tells potential clients, it gives them answers, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Information that they're seeking. When they see information they're seeking, they go deeper. And when they go deeper, you got a better shot at earning their business. So pay attention to your Google profile. And here's one other thing that this is huge, and I don't know if you guys want to hear it, okay? But if you're going to spend money on pay-per-click advertising, right, if you're not spending $5,000 a month, you're pissing your money away.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the honesty on that. Yeah.
Wow.
Right? I mean, it's just, no, I spent $300 a month on Google Ads. You're throwing your money away.
Right.
Or $500 or whatever. It takes at least $5,000 a month to get any ROI. And you might have to do that for 3 or 4 months
before you start seeing it. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So just don't do it unless you have a big budget.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate that. Somebody from that space, being honest with people and sharing that, I think is really important. I've tried to explain that to clients, and I'm like, look, if you don't have 5,000 minimum, it used to be 2,500, and in the last couple of years, I've upped it to 5,000, and I've probably heard that from you. But it's like I know you're not making a dent with that, a few hundred.
We don't actually take any PPC clients unless they're at $10,000 a month or above.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't. It's not worth it. They get mad at us.
Yeah. Well, and you think about it, you take the average small business owner, $5,000 is a big chunk of money, and you're doing $5,000 a month, and it takes 3 months before you start to see a result.
Yeah, that's almost a year of Google Business Management, folks.
Yeah. Which is almost guaranteed to have a better return.
Right. But we will not sell for you. You must close the sale.
You got to close your own deals, dude. Yep. Although
Your
for
conversion rate
I'll
is your
take those
own.
phone calls.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty good closer.
There you go. That'll be the next add-on service of Darling Local. It'll be the we'll close for you.
Right.
Awesome. I appreciate that. So I got one other question I want to touch on. I just remembered AI. What you've been around for a long time in the space, right? You got your 10 years, you're coming up on 10 years. What kind of impact are you seeing AI have? And I know you've shared some of this before, so it's a rhetorical question for me, but for the channel, what are some of the things you see AI having an impact on as it relates to not only what you do, but the online marketing space as a whole?
Well, for starters, a lot of people come to me and say that they're the real deal on AI. And I've been using AI in my company for almost 8 years.
Yeah.
Right. So, and now, truthfully, it started with something like Grammarly, which is AI, right?
Right.
But we started utilizing it. We incorporated it. Candidly, AI has replaced 11 of my employees.
Wow.
Right. So, and AI makes sure that there are no mistakes made when we onboard a client. Okay. AI does all my keyword research for me. You know how many hours I have to spend doing keyword research that when we onboard a client, the client answers key questions and AI generates all those reports for me. So I don't have to spend an hour or two researching that. Okay. AI creates all of our Google Drive folders, right? All of our onboarding forms, okay? All of our notifications, all of our payment reconciliation, right? So I mean, it's just it's definitely a big part of our business, but it doesn't run our business,
right?
Okay? And one of the things that we do is we have now. This is crazy. Because we went from a marketing agency to a visibility agency when in fact we're a software company because we write AI to do what we want it to do,
right,
to help our clients. So, there's a lot of AI out there. A lot of it's junk. A lot of it you can see is junk. But if you properly utilize the AI to work for you, it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think we're close to a terabyte of AI infrastructure.
Wow.
So are you liking Gemini then? Are you liking the new Google AI?
We're playing with Gemini, but no. No, I don't want Google to know too much about what I do because they might want some of my money.
He's a little late for that, but okay.
No, seriously. So like review engine, okay? Review engine. We don't have a Google profile for that. You say, why don't you have a Google profile for that? Because we don't want Google to know that we've automated collecting reviews.
Mm.
Right? So we utilize their API so they could very easily turn it off.
Mm.
So we don't publicize that.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I don't care if it's known. It's not a secret.
Right.
But I don't publish it on Google.
Yeah. No sense of flying in their face, right?
Right. That's right. But yeah, we utilize AI, and AI is where the world's going. AI is taking jobs away. The good news is all the jobs it has taken are all VAs that are in other countries anyway. So
yeah. Literally was just doing some research on that and the amount of the impact that AI is having in the VA space, and they're scrambling to try and pivot, right? Because now they're trying to learn. Well, and then you and I both know Go High Level, that software application that's really people are selling as a SaaS anymore, right? That really is a CRM. They're using it as a lot more evolved purpose than that. But it's funny because now those VAs are developing the skill sets to leverage AI. Right. Because there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, AI can do this and AI can do that. I'm like, only if you know how to make AI do that.
Right.
That's the caveat. That's where, and I tell owners all the time, I'm like, look, don't think you're going to figure this out on your own. You don't have enough time to run your own business, let alone try and figure all this other stuff out. And, perfect conversation for what's your hourly worth or what's the value of your time. Right?
Well, I mean, and then there's the other thing is that, there's a lot of people that are suddenly experts in AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
They discovered it last month.
Yeah,
and only because AI delivered it to them. I'm just saying.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate this, Craig. It's been awesome. Anything you want to share? Any shameless plugs in addition that you want to share out there? Anything like that?
Well, here's what I would like to share. I'd just like to tell you that what we do for a Google Business Profile is we not only generate relevance, we respond to reviews. We're reputation management. When we have a Google Business Profile, we syndicate to your social media. We optimize you for Google Voice, Siri Voice, Alexis Voice. We optimize you for Apple Maps and for Bing. Okay, and all of that is all encompassed in one thing: the Google Business Profile. We do help not-for-profits. We help not-for-profits. That's where we run our ads. Okay, and the reason we do that is because it's part of our giving back to the community. So we do not charge the not-for-profits for their ads, and we make sure that they each nonprofit that registered with us gets $10,000 a month to spend on ads. So that's how we give back. All right,
yeah, that's an amazing
plug. Awesome. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's an amazing program, and most people, if they've heard of it, they don't know how to capitalize on it. So that's an important component of that.
That actually came about because of the pandemic.
Right. Yeah.
For us. So when the pandemic first started, we had a couple of clients that called us up and said, "Hey, I can't pay you."
Right.
And I was panicking. Right. Oh shit! I'm gonna have to go back to that job after all. and so I said, "Okay." My wife heard, and she came in. She goes, "No." She goes, "You do not stop. They're process. She says, you just tell them they don't owe us any money until this pandemic's over. All right. And I go, yeah, but what am I going to do? She goes, you'll figure something out. So then what I did is I went to, I knew about this program. And so what we did is we went to the non-for-profit, said, we'll get you $10,000 a month in advertising to gather funds. Okay. We'll manage it for you. And all you have to do is hire us to manage your Google profile. It's $3,600 a year. All right. Okay. Well, 55 not-for-profits later, I wasn't so worried about the pandemic.
Nice.
So where there's a will, there's a way, man.
That's right. That's right.
And I like my electricity. I'm just saying.
Especially in our 115-degree summers, right?
Damn right.
Well, that's why I'm moving to Costa Rica, buddy.
That's right. That's right. Kudos for that, by the way. That's a huge step.
Yeah, we started a new company in Costa Rica called Tourist Link Technologies.
Yep.
And we started in September. Okay. We're at $10,000 a month recurring revenue right now.
Just in September.
Wow.
That's awesome. And same a lot of the same things, right? The Google profile.
Yeah, for a lot less money because people in Costa Rica don't have $5.99 a month.
But 10,000 a month goes a hell of a long way down there, though.
Yeah, actually, that's not available in Costa Rica. The not-for-profit thing. But anyway,
Good deal.
I hope we've answered all your questions today, man. It's been great being here with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great time. And it's funny, despite how many times we've engaged and talked, I still learn things from you. So I certainly appreciate everything that you provide for us and the insight that you lend us. So thanks again for being on the call. Really appreciate you joining the show, and look forward to catching up with you out there when you're back from Costa Rica next.
Well, we're going to be here until the middle of February.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So
that's how long it's. Well, Suzette might leave January 1st or 2nd.
Okay.
But I got to. We're not going to keep this house. We're going to lease the house out.
Okay.
So I got to figure out how to get all of my personal stuff in Costa Rica. And fortunately, I have a cousin that's a logistics expert.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Anyway, all right, guys.
Thanks again, Craig. It was great.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.
Take care. We'll see you soon, Eric.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.